Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Skip predicts no money in the world would entice Floyd Mayweather to risk fighting Conor McGregor. The guys give their top 4 teams they think should be on the selection committee's top 4 tonight. Shannon believes those New York Giants have a chance after last night. Plus, former Patriots defensive back Ty Law comes to offer his harsh words for the Patriots defense. Finally, FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard drops in the studio to say no one will average a triple-double this year in the NBA. Some new Lil Wayne for you, Skip.
That was a little different version of our opening song from Wayne, and now it's going to be in my head all day long. No Mercy, which is what you're about to
He
get.
said that Shannon Sharp is the sharpest one, and he cutting up. So I'm about to cut up on you, Skip.
Here we go.
Let's do it. We're starting off today with some exclusive video. Yesterday, TMZ talked to Floyd Mayweather about Conor McGregor. TMZ has shared that video with us, and you'll hear it right now for the first time. Here's Floyd on Conor.
Were you able to see the Conor McGregor fight?
I didn't really know that he fought.
You didn't know? You didn't see it, or?
No, absolutely not.
I thought you would be interested. I mean, he's like the Floyd Mayweather of the MMA, the UFC.
I didn't know Conor McGregor was undefeated, but I didn't know that he had a reign in MMA for 20 years and undefeated, and was world champion in 5 different weight classes. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I guess you guys telling me something new. If you say he's the Floyd Mayweather of the MMA.
Well, do you?
I mean, if you say he's the Floyd Mayweather of the MMA, I'm trying to find out. Have you ever made $300 million in one night? Have you ever made $100 million in one night? Have you ever made $70 million in one night? So, as far as trying to say that he's the Floyd Mayweather of MMA, I mean, it's okay to just to say it, but it's not true. I'm a legend, a living legend. You know, I gave just sport of boxing. I gave years and years of hard work. It was blood, sweat, and tears. I had a tremendous team. I had a tremendous run. I think that it's time for if Conor McGregor need to go out there and do what he do. But never compare Conor McGregor to me. That's a total disrespect.
Well,
I mean, once again, I'm an elephant. Elephant don't beef with ants. You know, elephant is so large you don't even see ants.
You can see the rest of Floyd's interview on TMZ Sports tonight at 11:30 Eastern on FS1. Skip, what do you make of Floyd's reaction to that?
Before you go, Skip, can you explain to me why I beef with you since I'm an elephant? I'm Floyd Mayweather. You Conor. You about to get taken down.
The bull elephant is sitting on this side of the table when it comes to debate. You know what just happened? Conor McGregor already got to Floyd Mayweather Jr. This was the equivalent of Floyd looking up and boom, just getting rocked by one of those sharp, quick, lightning lefts from Conor McGregor. And he's a little staggered on his feet as TMZ got him walking through the streets of New York City. Aha! So he's back in the stomping grounds where UFC was, obviously, at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night. And Floyd Mayweather Jr., who I proclaim the greatest defensive fighter ever, was really on the defensive. You want to talk about thin skin? You want to talk about coming across as a little threatened already by Conor McGregor? You want to talk about Floyd coming across as a little jealous of the stature of Conor McGregor? Not just in UFC, but in worldwide stature, because I think Floyd is already getting the drift here that Conor McGregor is bigger than Floyd Mayweather Jr. on a global scale. UFC is taking over from boxing, and Conor has taken over from Floyd Mayweather Jr. I did think it was interesting. He actually talked about himself in the past tense there at the end of what we just saw, as if he did that and it's over and done, which surprised me a little bit, like he's almost giving in and giving up and saying now he should go do what he does. But to me, in the bigger picture, this whole elephant analogy it's the first time I've ever heard Floyd, slender little Floyd Mayweather Jr., compare himself to an elephant because, as I just said, the bull elephant here is Conor McGregor. And I think Floyd did watch that fight. I think he was not being truthful about not watching that fight on Saturday night, the UFC fight, what happened to poor Eddie Alvarez in that fight. And I think that Floyd saw someone he could not contend with, even under boxing rules with 12-ounce boxing gloves. And I think he knows as he nears 40 years of age that there's no way he could risk his legacy against Conor McGregor, who, by the way, is an even greater trash talker than the great Shannon Sharp was in the National Football League. This is the greatest trash talker I've ever seen. So I think Floyd knows that a build-up to a potential Floyd-Conor fight, he might be overmatched in the trash-talking department.
Oh, yeah, he definitely overmatched in that department.
And he could lose the fight before the fight. And in this case, if I may quote Hamlet here, do you remember the line from, forgive me this, my Vanderbilt's coming out of me here, but Act 3, Scene 2, Gertrude's line about methinks the lady doth protest too much. Well, in this case, Floyd doth protest too much. He's overly defending himself as I'm the greatest ever. Don't you dare to disrespect me, because I think he sees and knows that Conor McGregor has arrived as the greatest of right now. And I would love to see these two go at it, but I think Floyd has realized after Saturday night his time has passed. He would have no chance against this guy in the ring because he would have to beat him like decisively or he would be embarrassed. And I think he would get embarrassed by Conor McGregor, and I think you saw right there that he knows it.
Well, first of all, Skip, me and trash talking and Conor McGregor, I wasn't allowed to use curse words. I had to be really creative and colorful.
I will agree. It does help to go a little blue here, right?
It really does. And, Skip, I don't disagree with Floyd. It is very, very blatantly disrespectful to say that Conor McGregor is as good. Floyd is a great boxer. In MMA, you have to be good at a lot of disciplines. You need to be able to box. You need to be able to wrestle. You need to be able to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, maybe Muay Thai, maybe Krav Maga. You have to be good in a lot of areas. Conor is a great MMA fighter. I don't know if he's really as great as Floyd is in boxing. I don't know if he's that great in any one of those disciplines. So now we're going to decide. In boxing, Skip, what weight are they going to fight at? Up to 147. Any weight class up to 147, you use 8-ounce gloves. Anything 147.5 or above, you use 10-ounce gloves. Yep. So now
I'll go 12. I don't care. I don't care. No, whatever Floyd wants. There could be some catch weight in between 147, 155. I don't know, 150, 152, whatever Floyd wants.
But you're trying to compare. It's like saying a marathon, Usain Bolt can be the 800-meter guy. They both run, but that's not his discipline. Floyd is a great, all-time great fighter. You can't say because Conor McGregor boxed as an amateur. There are a lot of guys that box as amateurs. There are a lot of amateurs that go to the Olympics. There are some Olympians that win gold medals. But there are very, very few that become world champion in 5 different weight classes, which he's done. He's unbeaten. He's untied. 49 times. Guess what, Skip? He strolled down to the ring. A lot of different music. And every time he's left the ring, he strolled back to his dressing room.
And I can't name about 40 of those opponents.
Hands raised high.
He fights people you never heard of.
De La Hoya.
That does not happen.
Sugar Shane Mosley.
Happen in UFC. You fight the biggest, baddest. In fact, Conor McGregor recently lost a fight. Guess why? He said, Nate Diaz, I'll take Nate Diaz. I'll take him on. He weighs 170 to my 155. He has 5 inches of reach on me, and he lost to him once, and he turned right around and kicked his behind.
Repeat what you just said. He did what to him?
You heard me.
That's something you've never heard come out of the words of anybody's mouth with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather and losing. So for you to
would Floyd
stop being disrespectful to the man.
Would Floyd ever fight 170-pounder? No.
Floyd couldn't weigh 170 pounds unless he had a 25-pound weight strapped to him.
Well, neither could Conor McGregor. 155?
Floyd, the heaviest Floyd has ever been was 154. He fought at 154. maybe once or twice. He probably weighed 148, 149 at the time. He's not a large man. So that's and he trains all the time. But there's different types of training. You can train but not be in boxing shape. He hadn't fought in over 14, 15 months, Skip. So now he's going to have to reprogram himself. We see guys all the time. Oh, he's in shape, but I'm not in football shape. I'm in shape, but I'm not in basketball shape. Floyd would have to get back into boxing shape. And you're asking Conor McGregor to refocus his entire way of thinking because now he can't kick, he can't take anybody down, he can't elbow anybody. He has to just strictly stand up and put these. Well, Floyd is the master of throwing CDs. You know what CDs are, Skip? CDs, that's what Floyd do better than anybody else in his weight class. From 147 down, Floyd is the baddest man.
You know, right now, near him 40, I don't think Floyd could knock me out. That's how much punching power he has. He hasn't knocked anybody out in, a decade, it seems like?
Skip,
seriously.
He wants to make you look bad. When you throw a punch and then he hits you with 3 or 4, you're like, which one of y'all hit me? Is the rough fight? Am I fighting two people in this ring? Because as soon as Conor throws one punch, rat-a-tat-tat.
Puff, puff, puff.
Yep. And guess what's going to be puffy?
Powder puff, powder puff, powder puff.
Be swole up, lumped up.
And then all of a sudden, one, boom. Where did that come from? Lightning. Pooh. Hit.
I bet by the 5th round, Conor McGregor looked like he got the mumps. Jaws all swole up. Eye closed for the weekend. Then what you going to say, Mr. Bayless?
By the 5th round, Pretty Boy Floyd's face, which has been mostly unmarked.
How you think he got the name
marks.
Pretty Boy?
Well, I got it. And he is a pretty boy, but he would have some blood on that face. There'd be some red.
No stitches. No stitching done. No corrective surgery for detached retinas being hit in the face. Nothing. No scars.
Because it's peck and run, peck and run, peck and pack. Peck, 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 peck.
And the man, and he doesn't even have a makeup artist. And face is flawless. He probably don't even get facials and face look like that.
Well,
Been boxing for 20 years.
12
not
round marathons. You can't catch him.
How can you fight 20 years and not have one scrape?
Greatest defensive fighter ever. He's made a mockery of boxing. In fact, I can make the case Floyd Mayweather Jr. has done more to kill the sport of boxing than anybody who ever boxed. As great as he is, it's all defense and very little offense.
Tom Brady is the greatest throwing quarterback ever. If that's the way you're going to do it, Tom Brady is the greatest.
Has he killed the ratings of football?
Whoa.
That's who you want to watch.
If he a fighter, you fight. You got to defend. The objective is to hit and not get hit. I never heard of that. You go in the ring like, okay, well, I'm going to try to take like 55 punches, but I'm going to try to get off 100. If I can take 2 punches and get off 35, that's what I'm going to do. Floyd's job is not to get hit. That's why he's pretty. He like this. Hey, Skip, I took my picture, my senior picture. I took it like this here, Skip.
You take a selfie. You take a selfie before every show. You post it?
Hey,
I don't know.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I got scrapes up under my freak accident. Making a tackle, guy shoulder pad cut me up under my eye. I got a helmet on and everything. Floyd has been in the ring for 20 years with no headgear. Not one scratch in his face.
Run. Duck, 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 duck. He's got the greatest head in boxing. You can't catch him. But this guy has lightning hands, both of them. He's left-handed, which is a problem to start with ambidexterity in his right hand. He can flat out box. And the more I watch him, the more I realize he is mostly boxing. They call it striking, but he is boxing. And he can box the way nobody can box in UFC. And he's a little bigger than Floyd, a little stronger than Floyd, and as quick with his hands as Floyd is. So now we would see, and here's what you keep overlooking. You want to talk about killer will, kill or be killed will? This guy has it. This is a crazy man who would not go down. I mean, Floyd can't knock out anybody anyway, so there's no way he could knock him out. And the point is, Conor McGregor would just keep on keeping on. He would keep on coming, and he would hit and hurt Floyd, and it would go 12 rounds, and I believe he would win it because he would tag Floyd harder and more often than Floyd was able to hit or hurt him.
We have seen Conor McGregor do this, have we not?
Yeah, on the ground, wrestling.
That's my point.
170-pound guy? Is Floyd going to take him to the ground and put him in a chokehold?
No,
what's he going to do?
No, these right here.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
so what are you talking about?
You know what? You know Floyd does. Floyd make people chase him around. See, normally people normally people don't follow someone that's getting beat up. If you beat me up, I'm not finna follow you. Floyd rat-a-tat-tat and walking away, they still followed him. Rat-a-tat-tat, walk over here to the corner.
Run.
That's okay.
Boy, it's hard to watch.
Keep chasing.
It's hard to watch.
And keep getting lumped up.
Conor McGregor would force this action because there's nothing.
How you going to force a man? The man has been fighting this way for his entire life. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to force him to break habit.
Yep, he would. Because Conor wouldn't care about those little powder puff punches.
Oh, Conor.
He just wouldn't care about them. No, you just walk right through them. Boom.
Hey, little bee sting. Then it's 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, then you're 4, then now you're lumped up. Now Skip Bayless. Now we're going to come in here because what's going to happen, they might fight. Now, how much? Look, for Floyd, it's got to be worth my while. If you're not talking, first of all, don't call me until you get a number like 150 mil. Once you get to 150 mil, call Leonard Ellaby. Okay, now we're going to start to talk. Get to 200 million, I'm going to say, well, look, I need 8-ounce gloves. I need, this is the size of the ring that I want to fight in. Get to 250 mil, I'm going to say, you know what? Meet me in Vegas on May 5th, because that's the only day I fight. I fight Cinco de Mayo, and I fight Labor Day weekend.
All right.
So after that,
he said, can Conor McGregor command $300 million in a night?
No.
Yeah, he could against Floyd. Watch. And I think Conor would be the bigger half of the draw.
Hold on, time out. If you think if Conor McGregor gets $300 million, Floyd Mayweather getting $600 million.
I think it'd be 50-50 split.
I ain't giving Conor McGregor no 50-50 split.
Why not?
For what?
Because he's bigger than Floyd. He's more popular globally than Floyd Mayweather Jr. He is. I'm sorry, he is. People are tired of Floyd.
Is he unbeaten and untied?
No.
Who gets tired of winning?
Nobody in UFC
Who's tired of winning?
The best fight the best.
Who is tired of winning? No, winning doesn't get old.
It gets old when you win. That's what he does.
Oh, look.
Defensive winning.
Let me ask you a question. How many track meets does Usain Bolt in his prime run a year? Probably 8. They don't say, well, Usain Bolt, you need to run 20. You need to run 20 times a year. You also need to run the 400 meters to prove how great you are. Floyd Mayweather say, look, this is what I do. You get 12 rounds, 3 minutes per round to try to do something with me. And they can't. Shall I dance? Bop!
Yeah.
Bop, bop!
Here's what Conor McGregor just did.
Did what?
He ignored the advice of Dana White, and he took on Nate Diaz a second time, which was the equivalent of an Ali Frazier in the punishment dished out by both of them. They nearly killed each other in the second fight. And Dana made the point on our show, in the interview I did with him, a month or so ago, that it was the kind of fight that can take years off the end of your career. That's how bad it was. And then all of a sudden, Conor says within, what was it, a couple of months, he says, I want to fight again. And Dana said, no, it's way too early. You haven't healed up from that because you gave and you took. You took a lot from Nate Diaz. It was a battle, man. I'm not going to go to war because I hate that term, but it was a battle. It was as physical as I've watched since Ali and Frazier went at it, the Thrill in Manila.
I love how you love to quote Dana White when he says Conor McGregor is tough and he wanted to fight 170, and after he lost, he says, I don't want to fight anybody else. I want Conor McGregor. But you won't quote Dana White when he said Floyd Mayweather would bust him up.
He did not say that.
He said,
the more we talked about it, the more he came around. He said, you know what? The last time he was here, he said, you know what? The more I think about it, I don't know. It would be interesting.
He said if it came to fruition, he would definitely give it his blessing. But he said Floyd would have a supreme and a decided advantage.
Yeah, and he keeps admitting, as he did on our show on Friday in New York City, that the more he doubts Conor McGregor, the more he doesn't doubt Conor McGregor, because he just keeps proving him wrong. And he proved Dana wrong again on Saturday night. He took on the lightweight champion after, what was it, from August, maybe it was almost 3 months. That's not enough time to heal up. This guy didn't need to heal up. This is the baddest man on the planet. You know it, and I know it, and now Floyd knows it, and he just basically told that to TMZ.
Well,
baddest man on the planet.
Like Floyd said, call Leonard Ellaby when you get to 150. He'll pick up the phone. Call me when you get to 300 million.
No mercy. The Giants won their 4th straight game last night after holding on to beat the Bengals 21-20. Eli Manning threw the go-ahead touchdown on 4th down on the 3-yard line early in the 4th quarter. The Giants are now 6-3. After the game, Odell Beckham Jr. said, we're really looking forward to February 5th in Houston. That's the goal, obviously. I probably said that the past 2 or 3 years since I've been in the league. I feel real confident in this team. The defense is a Super Bowl defense. This is a playoff defense. The offense, we're working to get better each and every day. Shannon, what was your biggest takeaway from last night's game?
I don't know what to make of the Bengals. When you look at them, they can beat any team that's on their schedule. And then you turn your head and look back, they can lose to any team that's on their schedule. And I think the biggest thing and the reason why we see so much inconsistency is that we see the inconsistency in their quarterback play. Because from week to week, you never know which Andy Dalton you're going to get. He can come out and throw for 3 touchdowns and 350 yards, and then the next week, he looks like a totally different football player.
Yep.
The Bengals also, I look at the Bengals like a stock. The previous 12 years before Marvin Lewis arrived, they underperformed. They didn't make the playoffs. Marvin Lewis comes there. He's in his, 14th year now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He comes there, and the 7 of his first 13 years, they show growth. Mm-hmm. But now they seem to have
made the playoffs
right.
7 times.
They made 7 times in his 13 seasons there.
Yep.
Now they seem to have stabilized. And it doesn't seem to be going up or down. It's just like they're here, right here.
Yep.
And that's what I don't get. And I don't know how much longer does Marvin stay there. Maybe they need to hear a new voice. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of Dalton because you got money invested in him. And who are you going to get? And I know Mike Brown. You know Mike Brown, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals. Mr. Brown, I shouldn't call him Mike. He's old enough to be my father. Mr. Brown is very cheap, miserly, thrifty, however you want to look at it.
Yep.
I don't believe Marvin's contract runs through next year. I don't believe he will fire Marvin, have to pay that salary, and then hire someone else and have to pay him. So that's where I am on the Bengals. The Giants, I still don't trust them. I watched Eli last night, and I see him make mistakes in year 13 that a guy that's in year 1 or 2 would make. And that's one of the reasons why I don't trust this team to go very far if they were to make the playoffs. Their defense, they're getting bang for their buck. Olivier Vernon is showing up. Janoris Jenkins, he's showing up. Harrison, what they signed him for from the Jets to stop the run, he's doing that. But the guy that I've been most impressed with is Landon Collins because he came out of Alabama. He was a run stuffer. Mm-hmm. He's all over the field. He leads them in sacks. He leads them in INTs, in tackles. He's a special type of player. So they have the defense that could possibly travel. But with Eli making these same mistakes that a first or second year quarterback would make, I don't really have a whole lot of trust in him.
I'll take your points in order. Let's start with Marvin and the Bengals. I can't write them off yet, even at 3-5-1, because they are so blessed to be playing in the division in which they are now inhabiting because nobody's very good.
No.
And even at 3-5-1, when I look down the rest of their schedule, they have 4 home games out of the last 7. Mm-hmm. They could win all 4 of those. They could win it. They got 1 game at Cleveland. I'm pretty sure they'll win that game.
Right.
So I don't know. Could they steal this division? Could they be an 8-8 playoff team, or they got a tie?
7-8-1.
So yeah, they could be 7-8-1, make the playoffs. Sure, they could. So I can't dismiss them, even though Marvin at this point, 14th year, 0-7 in playoff games, 0-7. It's hard to defend that. And at some point, I'm with you. You just need a new voice. But he, like his quarterback, is just good enough to keep his job. But Andy Dalton is not good enough to win the games, maybe a Monday night game on the biggest stage, or a playoff game. And I'm not sure Marvin is that guy either. They're almost like the same type where they're pretty good. Right. Marvin's pretty good. I still think he might be a better defensive coordinator than a head coach, but he's been a pretty good head coach. Yes. Andy Dalton, he's made 2 Pro Bowls. I mean, that's pretty great. Mm-hmm. You know, like, okay, so he's good enough to stay in that job, but when you really need him, he's going to frustrate you, and he's going to torment Bengals fans because he's not that guy. There's no it factor to Andy Dalton, and there's no it factor to a pretty talented football team that still under Marvin, when you least expect it, or maybe most, I don't know, they self-destruct. Obviously, against Pittsburgh in that playoff game, they should have won it last year, right?
Yes.
And they shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, and Burfict went out of control, and we know the rest of that story. So I can't write them off, though, because they are fortunate to be in the position they are in their division. Now let's go to Eli. when that game ended last night, it felt to me like the Giants should have won by 2 touchdowns. They just felt that much better at home, their stage. And the reason they didn't win by 14 points is that I'm going to go here. This occurred to me last night. Eli, as good as he can occasionally be or often be, he's got some Jay Cutler in him. And the Jay Cutler is the Cutler factor is where you have no threat from your backup quarterback. In fact, I forgot to even look it up. I'm not even sure who the backup is right now because it doesn't matter. Eli is amazingly healthy and durable. Amazingly. He just keeps on keeping on.
Yeah.
And the point is that he's a made man, obviously, in New York City. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings by hook or crook, but that's a whole other issue. But because of the rings, because of his pedigree, because of his father and his older brother, he's a Manning, but he can get away with just about anything he wants to get away with. And when you least expect it, he'll try something that is just flat out Jay Cutler stupid.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing? So what happened last night? Second quarter. This is the first interception. It's 7-all. They're buried in their own territory. And all of a sudden, he just rises up and throws it to Dre Kirkpatrick. Just hits him out in the flat. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he returns it, if we could see this. Up. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Come on, Eli. Up. Here we go.
Yeah. He was late. Kirkpatrick, He did make a great play, but he was late. But this is the one you're talking about.
The second one is it's 21-20. They have made their 4th down play that Joy talked about. And Dalton has just thrown an interception. And you think it's game over. Right. And Eli on the next play throws it right back to him. And you say, what are you doing? I'm sure Giants fans everywhere. What are you doing, Eli? Well, I say that every other Sunday about Eli Manning. It's that Jay Cutler where you have no checks and balance in your system. Like you're not afraid to try anything because there's no threat to you.
Right.
You're not going to get replaced. You're going to, Jay Cutler's just had this joyride in Chicago because he's never really been threatened by another, like a young upcoming quarterback, Dak Prescott.
Right.
There's never been a Dak Prescott in New York or in Chicago yet. So the Giants now, Eli has 15 touchdowns to 10 interceptions and 2 lost fumbles. They are -8 in turnovers, which ranks 30th in the NFL. Well, that's loser stats.
Yes.
But the defense has come alive, and now they've won 4 straight games because you know what? The defense, as a Cowboy supporter, it scares me the most of any NFC East defense.
Yes.
I think it's pretty good, and I think it has sort of a veteran quality to it. I just look around, and I see players who have been there before. Even though they don't have playoff experience, I see a more solid defense. Janoris Jenkins and Landon Collins, they have players, Casillas, they have players who have been around, who have been there and done all this before. So they are the biggest threat to me in the division. You say you don't trust them. I still fear them a little bit. As we talk about, the biggest threat to the Cowboys is obviously their owner, right? There's no doubt about that. But if I have to pick a team, it's this team that you initially picked to win the division.
Well, you say it's every week seems to be every other week that Eli make a play or do something that make you say, what are you doing? It's every game. He's going to make one of those plays. Now, whether or not the defense comes up with it, he'll make a throw. And you're like, Eli, why? But to get back to your Andy Dalton will win you a game, but can he win you the game? That's the question.
I don't see it.
That's the question you have to ask yourself. And I get it because you have to remember what the Bengals were before Marvin arrived. That was Siberia. There were a couple of franchises that you didn't want to, hey, it's an NFL team, but you have an idea like, I really don't even have a chance to win there. And no amount of money for me when I played could console me or insulate me enough that losing would be okay.
No amount of money?
No amount of money. No. Because I would
know. There might be.
No, I would take less money.
$300 million?
Well, there we go.
Yeah. Okay.
But here's the thing. But I tell you what, $300 million or $200 million to win. But that was the thing, though, Skip. And so you look at where they were. The Bengals are like, we might not win a playoff game, but considering we were 1-15 or 2-14 or 6-10 every year, going to the playoffs is great. Now, would we like to be like the Patriots and win? We'd like to be like the Broncos that be in the playoffs and win every year? Sure. But considering where we're coming from, and you have to realize the Bengals don't have the steepest pedigree it's not.
Well, I mean, they had been to 2 Super Bowls before. Ken Anderson and Boomer.
Yeah, and so from 91, and then last playoff appearance was 91, and then you see what they were from 91 until Marvin arrived on the scene in 03. You're like, they're very happy going 10-6, 12-4.
No, I got it.
But that's the thing. Have they reached their apex? Can Dalton and Marvin take them any higher than what they are right now? And that's the question Mr. Brown's going to have to ask himself. But you and I both know his pockets, man. Hey, he squeezed. That Eagle be crying on the quarter because he squeezed it tight. he ain't letting no money go, Skip.
But by NFL standards, he's cheap. But
by normal people's standards, he's cheap.
I don't know. That franchise is still worth whatever it is, like billions, right?
And that's what makes it so egregious. Why he's so cheap. I mean, he's digging way down. He like stuffing for way down in his pocket trying to get money up out of there. Just write the check.
No mercy. College football playoff rankings will be released tonight. Number 1 ranked Alabama won easily on Saturday, but for the first time since 1985, number 2, 3, and 4 ranked teams all lost on the same day. Skip, who should be in the top 4?
Joy. My top 4, obviously, Roll Tide. Give me a roll.
Yeah.
Give me a roll.
I'm going to do it real slow. Go ahead, Skip.
You might be rolling all the way to the championship. I'm not sure there's anybody out there now.
Skip, my hands are good. Don't you pat me and my team on the back. I'm good. I got this.
You're always asking him for...
No, I don't want none.
I just gave you props.
It.
Ohio State is the second best team in the country, and that's just eye testing. That's just my eye test. And Louisville's the third best team, and I am sticking with Michigan in my top 4 over Clemson, and I will tell you why. Michigan had one of those tough Big Ten road games. In fact, they don't play many road games, it seems like, this year. So Michigan's on the road at Iowa, a fired-up underdog Iowa that had just gotten embarrassed by Penn State. And Michigan is ahead 13-11 with about 4 minutes left. And Wilton Speight, the quarterback, with whom Jim Harbaugh has worked minor miracles this year, takes off on a scramble and gets his collarbone broken. We didn't know that at the time, but he's a little gimpy, holding his left arm up. And on 3rd and 9, then from the 38, he tries to throw, and he throws a pick. And it turns the tide, although Iowa threw it right back to Michigan. But here you go. You put him back in the game, not knowing Wilton Speight had a broken collarbone. And he actually threw a very good 3rd down pass to Darboh, and I thought Darboh should have caught it, but he did not. And all of a sudden, the door swings wide open with a punt and a face mask penalty that I immediately tweeted about because I thought it was egregiously wrong. And it really cost Michigan in this game, if we could see it. It wasn't a face mask. There's just no grabbing of the mask. It was just a rake. That's not a face mask.
Skip.
Huh? No, it's not. No, he didn't. It's just fingertips across the bottom of the mask. He didn't yank on the mask. So it's 15 yards, and it immediately puts Iowa in field goal range, and you know the rest of the story, and they lose 14-13. Now I don't know if the committee is going to penalize Michigan because the quarterback is, I assume, gone for X time. I don't know how long it's going to take, maybe for the rest of the year. So the kid, John O'Corn, who's played a little bit, will be the stand-in. Michigan doesn't win with its quarterback. It wins with its head coach, to me, and its defense. And it had the number 1 ranked defense going into this game. They're still number 1. And I would bank on their defense and their offensive coordinator named Jim Harbaugh and their head coach and motivator, Jim Harbaugh. I still think they're a little better than a Clemson team that has struggled all year. I don't know what's happened to Deshaun Watson. He indicated going into the year he was feeling a lot of excess pressure to live up to the Heisman expectations. You always talk about expectations. And I think they were hard on Deshaun. And I like him a lot as a player, but he has struggled to the point that he threw 3 more interceptions at home against Pitt. 5-4 Pitt just beat Clemson at Clemson by rolling up 464 yards on Venables' defense. That's not top 4 worthy to me. And obviously Clemson struggled this year with NC State at home, took overtime to survive them. Florida State's obviously struggling this year, not the Florida State we've known and loved. And Florida State it took them right to the wire. It was 37-34. So they have barely dodged upsets all year long, and I'm just not impressed. I'm not sold on Clemson, and I'm still sold enough on Michigan. They should be in the 4 spot.
Well, I think we have pretty much the same, but we flip-flop a couple. I have Alabama, of course, is number 1. I put Louisville in the
You love them.
I put Louisville in the second spot. I put Ohio State in the third spot. And I put Clemson in the fourth spot. And I took Clemson because they went to Auburn and beat them. Opening game. Yep, they're ranked.
Auburn wasn't Auburn yet, but go ahead.
They beat Florida State in Tallahassee.
Yep.
And they beat my second-ranked team by my ranking. Then they'll probably be third. They beat Louisville at home.
They survived.
If you look at
42 to 36.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you look at Michigan, they did beat Wisconsin at home. Wisconsin is the number 6 team in the country. They beat
They crushed Penn State 49 to 10. Now that's impressive.
Penn State was unranked.
Mm-hmm. They're ranked now.
They beat Colorado at home. Mm-hmm. Colorado was unranked.
Yeah, they're ranked now.
Ohio State lost to Penn State, who beat them unranked at the time. Mm-hmm. I think Louisville lost to Clemson on the road, played them tough. Clemson was the second-ranked team last year in the playoff standing. I just think Clemson's body of work, I did factor in Spates breaking that collarbone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did factor that in, so that's why I have Bama 1, Louisville 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4. It's going to be very interesting how they view Wisconsin because they do have 2 losses on their resume, and that's why I didn't go quite there with them yet. But Bama, Louisville, Ohio State, Clemson. And what the playoff committee is trying to get away from is having 2 teams from the same conference in the playoffs because they wanted to do away with that since Alabama and LSU met for the national championship one year. So the very next year, I think, or maybe 2 years later, they went to a college playoff system. They do not want this to happen. But I don't see, Skip, because I don't see who can jump them. I don't see Louisville losing a game, and Clemson has the inside track to win their side of the draw in the ACC and play
North Carolina or Virginia Tech
for the AC outright
they
ACC
can
crowd.
Probably win out, but you never know.
So are you going to have Ohio State and Michigan? One of those teams will be out of the playoffs.
Okay.
Because Michigan goes to Ohio State in about 2 weeks, I think.
What's going to happen is, if Ohio State beats Michigan, then Penn State's going to the conference championship game against probably Wisconsin.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the committee always talks about how they give edges to conference champions.
Yes.
Please don't tell me you would put Penn State into the Final Four over Ohio State. It just should. I'm sorry. I know there's head-to-head.
Yeah.
But Ohio State was in dominant control of that game until the fourth quarter when they flat out collapsed. What was it, 17-0 in the fourth quarter? I just don't want to hear it. Do you believe that Penn State right now is better than Ohio State?
No.
I just fear the system is going to dictate that Penn State is in the Final Four.
Well, since you're giving people truth serum today, and I had to take some, do you think any of those teams in the top 4 could beat Alabama right now? Think about it long and hard, Skip.
I respect Urban Meyer enough to get his team ready with a month or whatever it is to get ready. Mm-hmm. I do give him a chance because you know what happened 2 years ago. That had a lot to do with Ezekiel Elliott and Cardale Jones. You remember they were just flying high at that point, but they caught fire late. So I would give Urban a shot with his talent because it's a young team that's just coming of age. And I would give your man Lamar Jackson a shot just because it's what he does, and that torments what Saban tries not to do, which is to stop the – he would have to be able to throw it, though. I don't think he'd be able to run it against them, but he would have to be able to throw it.
Well, the thing is that Coach Saban tries to do, he tries to make you one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And he tries to take one aspect of the game. And what happened, because he couldn't take Ezekiel away, now Cordell Jones could play pass and throw the ball down the field. So he could actually take nothing away. But Alabama still was they were in complete control of that game. And then one fatal, Blake Sims threw that interception, and it changed.
The whole Jerry World ceiling fell in. Wouldn't it, Jerry World? Seemed like, no, he was in the Sugar Bowl. I can't remember. But the roof fell in, right.
Yeah.
And it was a wipeout after that.
And Alabama turned the ball over, 4 times? This is a different team. They look different. I'm anxious to see how the playoff committee ranks these teams and the reasonings that they're going to give. The one thing that we know for certain is Alabama is the number 1 team in the country. So after that, 2, 3, 4, how and why do you come to this conclusion? Because everybody has flaws. I mean, you look at Ohio State losing to an unranked Penn State at the time, Clemson losing to an unranked Pitt at the time, and Louisville lost to Clemson. So Louisville has a case that, look, us and Alabama, we definitely belong in the top 4. Everybody else, you can make a case like, okay, I can see, but there only one. Alabama has no losses, and everybody else has 1 loss, and that's another reason I left these teams in the top.
Would you allow me one last statement as a University of Oklahoma football fan that I make? My worst nightmare is Bob Stoops is doing it again after 2 ugly early losses to Houston in the city of Houston and then to Ohio State, who ran my Sooners off their own field on a Saturday night in Norman, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They have suddenly and predictably caught fire, and Stoops has like 9 playoff lives, and he's used up about 8 of them, but he's got 1 left. And when you least expect it, he always backs in somehow. He's backed into 2 national championship games, and he backed in last year. And what's going to happen is if he somehow manages to back in this time, they will draw Alabama in the semifinal, and they will lose 55-3. That's what will happen, because that's what always they get there through the back door, and then they get kicked out the back door, right?
But that'll keep him his job.
Let's just say Alabama lose the SEC championship game. Do you think they would still put Alabama in?
Yep, I do.
I believe so also.
Yep.
Because everybody else will have had 1 loss, but I just don't see anybody, barring a catastrophic injury of some sort, I don't see somebody from the SEC East beating Alabama in the championship game in the Georgia Dome.
They're incredibly dominant. We'll find out tonight when the college football playoff rankings are released. No mercy. Our next guest won 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots and was a 5-time Pro Bowler. This pick 6 in Super Bowl 36 led the Patriots to their first title. Ty Law, welcome to Undisputed.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, I got to say, I loved watching you play cornerback, and I think the team could use you right now.
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit, but they'll bounce back.
Well, let's talk about your former team. The Patriots defense gave up over 400 yards to the Seahawks offense in Sunday night's loss. New England has only forced 2 turnovers in the last 6 games. The Patriots traded Pro Bowl defensive end Chandler Jones in the offseason and Pro Bowl linebacker Jamie Collins in October. And Ty, you've been outspoken in the past about the Patriots getting rid of players in their prime. So has Bill Belichick made the right personnel moves?
I can't say I agree with the moves that he made, but Bill Belichick has built up enough equity for us not to question him because he's continuing to be competitive. He's always in the playoffs, and he's always contending for a Super Bowl. So it's hard to criticize in a sense, but I think when you're talking about your 2 best defensive players on that team and the way the defense is struggling right now, I mean, I think you can call the question.
So when you look out there, just watching TV, what do you see in this defense? Do you see a star anywhere? Do you see a Malcolm Butler? Do you say is he that guy? Who is that guy?
I thought Jamie Collins was going to be that guy. So that's what's so disturbing about the move. I don't know what's been happening internally, if anything is going on that we don't know about, because Patriots, we're pretty tight-lipped when it comes to things, and they're not going to give you too much. But right now, someone needs to step up and say, this is my defense, this is my team. I think Malcolm Butler, he made the big play in the Super Bowl. He's been to the Pro Bowl. I mean, I do give him a lot of credit for being the guy who's not afraid. He's going to lock up on the opponent's team, the other team's best receiver. But no one has stepped up in that leadership position and to where says, follow me. No one's they don't have that right now. And that's a little bit disturbing because they got rid of the 2 guys that were becoming that type of player.
Well, I think we focusing on the last because it just so happened recently in Jamie Collins, but the guy they missed the most is Chandler Jones. Because he's the guy, he led them in sacks last year. He had 12.5 last year. He has 7 now for the Arizona Cardinals. Only 3 teams have fewer sacks than the New England Patriots. Their leader, Flowers, has 4 sacks. When you can't pressure the quarterback and you got guys on the back end struggling, Logan Ryan, Justin Coleman, McCourt is not jumping off the screen like he normally does. He's not making the plays. If you can't pressure the quarterback and you're struggling on the back end, that's a recipe for disaster.
Recipe for disaster.
And so unless they have someone that can step up, we know how they really want to win ball games because they have Tom Brady. The most talented side of the football is on that side because they have Brady, because they have Gronk. They got these backs that can cause matchup problems. But at some point in time, and what hurt them Sunday is that Brady had an interception and Edelman fumbled the football. So now that's 2 possessions that you're not going to get any points out of. The Patriots always trying to push them up. They're always trying to make sure they get at least 3 out of every possession, and then they minimize your chances of scoring. But if they turn the football over like they did Sunday and they're not stopping anybody like we've seen over the last couple of weeks, what we thought was a coronation the Patriots are going straight to the Super Bowl from the AFC side. Now all of a sudden doesn't seem like such a sure thing. But I would never doubt Coach Belichick and Tom Brady, but they need to fix that D.
Oh, they need to fix it because still the old adage is defense wins championships.
It'll carry.
And it's going to carry over. So right now the Patriots are so good at offense, and I think they're putting everything in Tom Brady's hands, which, you know, if you got a guy like that, you got to put the ball in his hands. You got Gronkowski, you got Edelman, you got all these offensive weapons that can move the ball pretty much against anybody.
Right.
Defense, I think the philosophy right now is bend but don't break because we have number 12 back. You know what I mean? But I think, you know, as a defensive unit, regardless of what's going on, what we're talking about in the media, what the coaches might be saying, but the defensive locker room, kick the coaches out.
Right.
You know, let's get it together amongst ourselves and say, this is what we got to do. It's not just Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and everybody else. You got to have some damn pride.
Right.
You know, and go out there and make something happen. So I'm waiting to see who's going to be that guy because you didn't have to have that in our locker room. You know, you had Willie McGinnis, myself, Teddy Bruschi. We had guys that will step up and play. Lawyer Malloy, Rodney Harrison. We had outspoken, vocal, competitive people. We competed amongst ourselves.
Right.
So that's what they have to find, that magic that we had back then, because it wasn't about just the offense. It was more of a defensive team.
Right.
You know, and then Brady
became Brady.
Brady became Brady.
Yeah.
But at the time, he didn't have to carry the load. So the defense, in my opinion, needs to start taking it personal with all the criticism that they're getting right now.
But don't you have to have some damn talent to start off with?
Hey,
seriously.
Hey, I mean, they do have some talented players, you know, back there. I mean, look, Devin McGordy, he's a Pro Bowl. He's a Pro Bowl safety. He just have to play consistently. Ninkovich, you know, he's up and down. He's not playing consistently. So I think consistency right now is the problem for the New England Patriot defense.
I still believe that this offense can win a championship. And by the way, just for the record, this offense was a play away from tying the score at 31 and going to overtime against Seattle. And to put up 31 on Seattle, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So they still got that going for them. And back to the two players who are not there. Chandler Jones had some off-field issues. We know about those. And Jamie Collins, according to our Michael Lombardi, who's very close with Bill Belichick, had some locker room issues and was not playing hard enough or well enough for Belichick's taste so far this year, and he just wanted to unload a personality who didn't really fit in the locker room. I get all that. Pro Bowl talent, gone. So now you have 19 sacks this year, which ranks 21st in the NFL. That's not good enough, to your point, to win a championship. You forced 9 turnovers this year, which is 26th in the National Football League. It's not good enough.
Right.
So this brings me back to the guy with the equity, Bill Belichick. And you know how I feel about this. I always say I'm more of a Brady fan than a Belichick fan. Not that I don't respect Bill for all that he's accomplished, but I think it's been more about number 12 than the head coach. That's just me. That's not our debate right now.
Right.
But let's get back to this head coach that you played under and know very well. To me, my theory is that he's won so much. He's so acclaimed. He's already being the case is being made. He's the greatest coach ever. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that, but we could debate it. He's at least in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Is it possible that at this stage and age that he's saying, you know what, I'm going to reprove my genius, and the best way to do it is I'm going to ship these guys out. I'm going to ship out my 2 most talented defensive players, and I'm going to show everybody I can recreate this defense, that I can bring it to a late season boil where it'll be good enough that we can go win another Super Bowl, because that will polish my genius, right? That will enhance my genius. Mm-hmm. He has earned the right to do. I don't like it, but I think he might be at that stage of his career where he's saying, you know what, I'm a little bored here. Get rid of those guys. I just want to. I'm going to show everybody with mediocre talent, maybe just barely above average talent. I'll show you what I can do as he starts to take over the defense more down the stretch. And I'm doubting it, because I just don't know if there's enough talent to do it, because I watch every play every Sunday, and I'm seeing a below-average defense right now.
It's a below-average defense right now, but I think you still have a lot of time to grow. Even when we released Lawyer Malloy out of nowhere back then, it was a shock to us. Right. We went out and blew up by Buffalo 31-0. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a transition similar to the Jamie Collins because he was that leader of that defense. Right. And he was going to be a free agent. So let's not take away the business aspect of it. Let's get something for him now because we're probably not going to pay him what he's worth. So it could have been something like that behind it as well. But, I mean, defensively, from a personnel standpoint, they have to play better. And I say you can talk about Coach Belichick. I don't think his ego is that big to where that he would do that just to prove that I'm the best coach because he's already in the conversation. He wants to win championships. But I think he knows that he has such a talented offense that he may be not believing that defense is as important as he used to think.
Maybe not.
I don't know. But I don't think as far as the ego is concerned, as far as what I can do, it's more so that, look what I have on offense, we're going to make it work.
I look at the Chandler Jones situation. It's hard for me to believe, and you know this because you played a long time in the National Football League. You know teams know exactly what you're doing off the field. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to believe that this was the first incident that led to say, you know what, since he did this, I'm going to get – I think him being going to be a free agent and was going to get he wanted top dollar because the Patriots it appears to me from the outside looking in, if you're not willing to give them a hometown discount, because Brady is always giving them a hometown discount. If you don't give them a hometown discount, they're going to move on and try to get something for you.
Right, absolutely. And when you get the top player on the team in the game, given the discount, usually everyone follows suit. You know what I mean? Then you got to talk about the personality of the player. So, like I said, I don't know what went on in that locker room. But I'm just saying from a defensive standpoint, yes, you have your Tom Brady, you have your Gronkowskis, but Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins, those guys were the key. I thought they would be around there for a long time, played 10, 12 years.
Okay, so bottom line, Ty Law, from what you've seen so far from that Patriot defense, could it get good enough to win a Super Bowl?
I think they can. I think, one, you have to maybe change the defense. I mean, sometimes you can't, with your personnel, you can't go out there and try to play, man to man. Right. Sometimes you might have to just call it a day and play zone and play cover two. Put the safeties over top. If the corners are not holding up, hey, we got to put some safeties over top and let's put the onus on the linebackers and the guys up front. You know what I mean? But if you're not getting any pressure, you got to play the bend but don't break. Give up field goals instead of touchdowns because sometimes, no matter what, that's what you got to do. Just don't let them get 6. Let him get 3 because guess what? We have number 12 over there, and he's going to lead us down there. And he's more than likely, unlike in Seattle in the last play, he's going to get you 6 before he gets you 3.
No mercy. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and James Harden are all nearly averaging triple-doubles so far this season. Westbrook leads the league with 3, and they're the only 3 players with triple-doubles. We're joined by NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Who has the best chance of averaging a triple-double?
First of all, I don't think any of them will average a triple-double. Mm-hmm. But if I had to pick one, I would say Westbrook. Mm-hmm. And I'll say Harden will not get there. I think Harden's got a great chance to lead the league in scoring and assists. I don't think he'll get the rebounds. He's averaging 7.9. Right. In his first 7 seasons, he only averaged more than 5 once. Yeah. Last year, he averaged 6. So he's not doubling his career average. Yeah. Okay, he's out. LeBron at about 23 points, 9 assists,
9 rebounds.
Almost 9 rebounds. We talked about it last week. The rebounds, Kevin Love is at 10. Tristan Thompson is at over 9. They're too good of rebounders on his team for him to get 10 a game. Right. If he set out to average a triple-double and just that was his goal, I think he could do it. Right. But it would literally ruin their team for him to go out and try to grab more than 10 rebounds a game because you would literally be taking rebounds from Love and Tristan. Even the assist, I think LeBron will be at 8 or 9 for the season. I don't think he handles it enough. As much as he handles it, he's a point forward, not a point guard. I don't think he has it enough, certainly not like Harden and Westbrook, to average 10. Westbrook, Steven Adams is at 8 rebounds a game. Enes Kanter only plays 19 minutes a game. He gets you 7. So there's no great rebounder in front of Westbrook he can get all the rebounds he wants, and they need him to do everything. So I think he's got a shot. The last 3 games, he's actually averaged a triple-double, like 32 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. So I go with Westbrook.
I co-sign everything you said. I think LeBron won't, for the simple fact, although he does handle the ball 80% of the time, Kyrie handles the other 20. Yep. So Kyrie will get some of the assists that LeBron would get if he dominated the ball the entirety of the time.
Like those two.
Yes.
They really.
And I agree. And for that reason, I'm going Westbrook also, because the only great rebounder is Steven Adams. The other guys, Sabonis, he's a young guy. He doesn't play enough minutes. Cantor doesn't play enough minutes. You need to play, to average double-digit rebounds, you probably need to average around 25, 30 minutes a game. To get those amount of rebounds. And James Harden, I believe James Harden, what he's doing, he makes it look easier than what Russell Westbrook does.
Yes,
he makes getting 30 points and 12 rebounds. Look, you look up, you like, the dude got 23 points and 10 rebounds in the first quarter. You're like, how did that happen?
He's very smooth.
Rebounds or assists?
Assists.
Assists.
I'm saying, but he makes getting a double-double as easy as I've ever seen it. I think
he's the MVP right now. It's early out.
He makes scoring those points and assists easier than Magic Johnson. And Magic Johnson, I think, is the greatest assist man.
James has the ball in his hands like 90% of the time.
They didn't do that back then as much.
Magic was getting easy because he dumped it down to Kareem, and Kareem throw the sky hook, or he hit Worthy on the fast break in the Statue of Liberty dunk. But I agree. I don't think any of these guys, because night in and night out, to be able to exert, because you got to exert a lot of energy, because a lot of those rebounds are loose balls.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to have to go extra hard to get that, and then at some point that will catch up with you. So I don't think any of them would do it. But if you hold my feet to the fire and said you got to pick one, I'll take Russell.
I predicted before the year started Russell would average a triple-double, and I'm going to stick with it because I've never seen anything like him. Energy-wise, I'm not sure his body can take the beating that it takes every night. He got 15 rebounds last night. I know they got blown out, but he got 15 rebounds, and a lot of them are sort of loose balls or just like 50-50 balls.
Right.
And he will just out-jump and out-scrap people who are bigger than him for these rebounds because he just wants the ball worse than the other guy does. And yet, you made the point last on the show. How can he average 10-plus rebounds a game? Because he's, what do we give him, 6'3"? Yeah. Like it's impossible, but he keeps doing it. And what's disappointed me so far is Steven Adams, and maybe you can explain this to me. I watch him a lot. I watched him last night. They got smoked in Detroit, but it was an odd team. Remember, Oklahoma City was back-to-back. Yeah. They were playing back-to-back on the road, but there was no Drummond and no Reggie Jackson, obviously, in Detroit. So it was a bad loss for Oklahoma City, and I didn't like that. They have some big wins because they won at the Clip. They're the only team now that have beaten the Clippers, right, so far?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so something's wrong with Steven Adams to me. I can't figure out because his shooting percentage has dropped 10 points from last year. He's making 10% fewer of his shots, and it's hurting Russell's assists because what Russell got going with down the stretch last year was, I'm going to attack, I'm going to bring two to me, and I'm just going to leave it on the floor for Cantor or Adams just to basically dunk it or
lay it in.
And for some reason, Steven Adams isn't cashing enough of Russell's assists. And so Russell's stuck on 9 assists when I thought they'd be like 12 or 13 a game, which he was more capable of last year. And I don't know what's wrong with Steven Adams.
He had this guy, Kevin Durant, there, too.
Yeah.
He did. No,
giving him 3 or 4 or 5 easy assists. I just think for Adams, it's, now more is expected. I mean, and not only was Westbrook creating shots for him last year, but so was Durant. And the attention that was
But didn't you think in the
Durant.
playoffs, Steven Adams arrived?
He did arrive, but he is what he is. Like, when you start, it's like Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin's a nice little player. But when you start thinking he's at this level, that's when you get disappointed. Adams is really good, but he's not like an elite level. I don't believe he's an elite level center. I think he's showing that. I wanted to say this about the triple-double because Oscar Robertson, as we all know, the only player to ever do it, 1961-62. It's interesting. If you take his first 5 seasons as one season, that's 384 games, he averaged a triple-double. Because there were years we had like 9.9 assists, and then he'd have 11 assists another year. So overall, it averages a triple-double for 5 years. But this is why no player, I don't believe, will average a triple-double anytime soon. When Oscar averaged a triple-double, teams averaged 108 shots a game. Now they average 85. So that's 23 more shots for each. That's 46 more shots per game. And then they shot a lower percentage, 42% versus 45% now. So there were actually teams averaged 71 rebounds back then in 1960.
Why was that?
Because they shot so much and missed so much.
So just pure run and gun.
Yeah, it was pure up and down. So they averaged 71 rebounds per team. This year, they averaged 44. So that's 54 more rebounds available per game.
Yeah.
I mean, Robinson, the year he averaged triple-double, he was a third leading rebounder on his team.
Yeah.
So these guys are actually getting a higher percentage of their rebounds, their teams and the games.
So the degree of difficulty now is much harder.
Yeah,
than
much
it was
harder.
Because I look at Oscar's numbers, or I look at Wilt's numbers, and I say,
Will averaged 26 rebounds that year.
Yeah, and he didn't win the MVP. Bill Russell won it.
Yeah.
That was the same year. Wilt went 50-25.
Well,
Oscar had a triple-double, and Bill Russell won the MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this. I do think LeBron's degree of difficulty is lower. Like he's just so much bigger than Russell.
The other
yeah. And he's in such superb shape, and he is very durable. God bless him. And if he really put his mind to it, he doesn't need it, but I think he's capable of doing this. But it would be at the expense of, I don't know, Kevin Love's rebounds or whatever, or Kyrie's assists.
It would mess up chemistry, too.
Maybe a little bit.
Don't you think?
But he's close now. I mean, he's just sort of
he's
just rolling out of bed, and he's real close, right?
It's interesting he's never gotten over that hump of double-figure rebounds or points. You know, he's always been around 8 and 7. Yeah, or assists.
I think if J.R. Smith needs, because he's feeding J.R. on a lot of threes, and J.R. hasn't found his rhythm yet. I think once J.R. starts shooting better from the three, I don't think he can get a triple-double, but I think he can average around 23 and 10 assists.
Yeah, I think he could.
And with that, he'll win the MVP, because these other teams, harden them, they won't win enough games. They won't win enough games to overtake
if they win, I think they have to win at least 50.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the year, LeBron will end up being the Cavs' leading scorer, too. He's 1 point behind Kyrie.
Yeah.
I think LeBron will slowly raise
So
his
he doesn't
average.
care about scoring,
you took the
That's
words
not
out of
his
my mouth.
I don't think
priority.
he gets you 25 without even trying.
I mean, the man averages.
She's listening to Skip too much. They must go out to lunch every day after the show.
What
We've never
LeBron
gone
James
out to
said.
lunch.
I'm just repeating what he said.
Chris, that's why we call her Miss Petty. She petty like that.
I'm only repeating
little
what LeBron
jabs,
James
little
said.
passive aggressive.
I keep it
the
real.
only smart one on this show.
Possible.
You done rubbed off on the Skip. You
Great
petty.
stuff, Chris.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on Channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening. I'm Joy Taylor. We're back tomorrow when we're joined by our friend and two-time Super Bowl champion, Ray Lewis. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.